Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to. That's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association from the CZ Studios.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins right now. All of it being presented by the great National Rifle Association. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in the CZ Studios at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. Welcome aboard. We are live for you today on Facebook.com. Well, we will be in just a second. Let me click that go live button. There we go. Now we're live on Facebook for you. Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Should you choose to watch the program there, you can watch us over on Rumble at Armed American Radio, YouTube at Armed American Radio, and of course you can watch us at armedamericanradio.com. Just click that watch live button up there, or the listen live if you're driving. Please don't try to watch while you're driving. Don't do that. Don't be that person, please. Those are the people that try to take guns into their carry-on bags. Please don't be those people, all right? Make it safe. Just listen to us. It is a radio show after all. And you can also watch us live on X, where we're kicking it right now. So this is going to be a really disturbing show, ladies and gentlemen, not because of our guests, but because of the topic. We're going to be talking about knife fighting. And if you've known me for the 17 years I've been on the air, I have said repeatedly that I hate knives. And I have an Emerson knife right here in front of me. I use it every single day, but I use it for benign things like opening boxes and that kind of fun stuff. And I do carry it from time to time. And I hope to God I never have to use it, because that means somebody's on top of me. But joining me today to talk about what happened in Michigan and what you need to know about knives and why you need to fear them, quite frankly, and the attacker who uses them is the great Ernie Emerson, the blade master himself from Emerson Knives. Ernest Emerson, welcome in, brother. Such a good friend. So great to have you here, as always. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about this, because it's a terrible thing, and it goes without saying that we all keep those people in our hearts that are injured by these stupid attacks that happen seemingly more and more. But I want to say there's certain things that we should all be aware of, and I'm positive that a lot of your viewers and listeners are already aware of, but I want to kind of put a circle around some of the most important things that they need to know about an attack like that and how it unfolds.
Oh, it's brutal,
and
isn't
then
it?
Afterwards, yeah, and then we could shift into, if you're willing, to the process of an attack. Let's call it that.
I want to get into the dynamics with you, which is what was my intro okay? Because this is a disturbing conversation. A lot of people don't like to hear this, but it's reality, and it's what we have to be prepared for, particularly in today's day and age. And Ernie, you've heard me say it many times. I've told you personally, face to face, I hate knives, but I love knives. I have a great collection of your knives. But when it comes to defensive use, you know, I go back to the very disturbing scene in Saving Private Ryan, right? Where the American soldier is killed with a knife. This is such a personal attack. Knives are personal attacks because they're up close and personal. So, but it's so critical that we understand the dynamics in play. We'll talk a little bit with you about the Toller drill and all that stuff. But let's, I guess Michigan is a good example to use. Here we are. Let's set it up. Here we are in a Walmart shopping. There could be a guy standing in front of me in line who, you know, in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts, doesn't appear to have a gun on him at all. All of a sudden, this guy goes berserk, and the next thing I know, he turns around and he's on me. Tell us about what happens.
Well, all human behavior is governed by principles, and it doesn't matter if it's a gun, a knife, a club, or fist, and those are in play all the time, 24/7. They never go away. So what are some of those principles that are in play when something like this happens? Well, all attacks, this is the first principle I want to just mention, all attacks are governed by the predator-prey interaction and response, because all predators attack by surprise or ambush. And just like you said, the guy turns around and boom. I mean, he didn't have a sign on his hat saying, I'm going to attack you in 10 seconds or anything like that. It just happens. Now, with a knife, of course, it has to be close enough to you for him to reach out and touch you. So another principle that comes into play immediately is situational awareness. You have to be aware of your environment and who is in your environment. And you mentioned the toiler drill. Anyone within 20 feet, 21 feet, is a potential attacker because of that principle, that proximity to you. So you're standing in line in the bank and Walmart and going in the movie theater, whatever. You've got a lot of people that are going to be within that 21-foot radius. So your situational awareness, you have to. It's funny. People, they ride around or walk around in condition white, as defined by Colonel Cooper, which is basically where you're in just when you're laying in bed falling asleep. You need to be in a condition, at least condition yellow, which is being aware of your situation, aware of your environment, the people around you. I mean, come on. We read people really well. If I see somebody who looks hanky or suspicious, you know what? He's on my list. I'm going to keep him within my situational awareness program that I'm aware of where he is, what is he doing, what are his body mannerisms, what's going on. Because it's just like poker. There's a lot of tells in there, and we're all guilty of exposing those, especially if we're going to do something. And so that 21-foot rule, for those of your listeners that might not be aware, is that the bad guy, if he's 21 feet away from you, can access a knife and actually be on you close enough to do damage to you before you're able to react and maybe draw your weapon if you're concealed carry or anything like that. So
the average on those tests, by the way, was 1.8 seconds from a dead stop moving to a sprint, correct? It was under 2 seconds.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Mark, that's important is those are quote unquote tests. That means the people involved in the test, knew exactly what was happening. We knew when it was going to take place. In other words, get ready, get set, go. So it's even faster than that, because there could be someone who is off to your 45 that isn't in your direct line of vision, and he could be sprinting at you before you're even aware he's moving. So you compress that time back down into, sometimes less than half a second. So, all
right. I want to go back to proximity for a second and tie that into situational awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about this with Ernie for the hour. And, I see in the chat, by the way, I didn't mention the chat for you folks. If you want to jump in the chat, it's Telegram. Just download the Telegram messaging app and search for Armed American Radio Conversation. And somebody's got Cooper's color codes they just put up on there. And it's something we want to talk about a little bit when it comes to this, condition white, yellow, orange, and red. But let me go back to proximity for a minute in situational awareness. Because you just mentioned, you talk about the bank example, Ernie. In a bank, if people even go in a bank anymore, everybody's within 21 feet of you. Everybody, including the employees. Everybody is within that proximity to do you harm. Now, you could have a guy get out of a Lamborghini who's had a really bad month, dressed to the nines, carrying a knife, determined to do an attack inside the bank. It's not always going to be the guy that looks like a bum, is it? How do we prepare for that?
Well, and you're right. It's 100% correct. You never know who that person is going to be, but you can start to narrow down some of those. Generally, it's not going to be the guy that's got the $1,000 suit on. He's kind of probably nonviolent type, but it's always possible. But again, that situational awareness means you as a person, you need to be able to tell who are potential bad guys and aren't. And now that well-dressed guy may actually be the predator, but at the same time, you've got to play the odds. It's like everything's on a balance beam, and you want to stack that so that it kind of falls in your favor. So if I'm looking at a crowd and I see a bunch of people that are scruffy and then they're furtive movements and their eyes are darting around, I'm going to definitely keep that guy on my radar screen. But at the same time, it's you can't understand what's inside someone's head, and we could spend 5 or 6 days discussing, who that attacker is. But I don't want to get into too much of that today, because it'll really some of the stuff that I think is better served at making people able to survive in a situation like that.
Right, so let me stop you right there, Ernie, because we're getting ready to take a break, and I'll set this up for you. When we come back, I want to go back to that example. And because this happened in a Walmart in Traverse City, I was talking about the bank. I can use the exact same thing in the Walmart. So I want to do that because I think most of us nowadays, actually, most of us are using our Patriot mobile phones. There's the plug to do our banking. But nonetheless, a lot of us go to Walmart or maybe another store that you might frequent. So I want to take that example there and then pick up where Ernie left off. We've got Ernie Emerson, the master blade maker himself, emersonKnives.com, emersonKnives.com. We'll be back with Ernie right after this. On the flip side of the break, don't go away.
All clear. Be right back.
Roger that. Hey, guys, those of you watching the show, you know that longtime fans of the show know Greg is out today. So we've got Bobby on the boards. Does a stellar job, as always, the crew over at the Salem Radio Network. They are the professional team, I can promise you that. And I have I'll make this announcement when we come back live for radio listeners as well, but if you're tuned in on any of our social media platforms, and many of you are, Neil McCabe, believe it or not, will be making a special appearance on the show tomorrow. He has been given permission to jump on the show. He wants to talk a little bit about Mike Hammond over at Gun Owners of America. I won't take all of his thunder, but Mike was a great guy, and I'll be heading over to the Gun Owners of America convention to meet with a lot of the partners that you hear on the show on a regular basis. This weekend on Saturday, be hanging out with a bunch of them, and we're also going to mix it up a little bit, have dinner with AAR Hawkins and his wife, and be back in time on Sunday for the show. We're going to tape a couple interviews while we're there, so it'll be a lot of fun. But so look forward to that tomorrow. Neil McCabe will be joining me on the program tomorrow. An unusual daytime guest, right? Too bad we couldn't get him for Sunday, but that's okay. Be back in a few minutes, guys. following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, you should do that, ladies and gentlemen. Patriot Mobile Command Center fired up for you on the Patriot Mobile mic here in the CZ Studios. This is a Patriot Mobile activated phone I'm holding up if you're watching the program. You can do the same thing. I'll be hanging out with the fine folks at Patriot Mobile on Saturday afternoon in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it's real simple, patriotmobile.com/AAR, and you get a free month activation. And you don't have to move all your phones at one time. A lot of you have payment plans on phones like I do, and it can be really expensive to do that. But they do offer the $500 credit, so if you only owe $500 to pay the phone off, you will get a $500 credit from Patriot Mobile, which is what I do. And then where you can move the phones one by one and give your money to a company that's actually going to be on the floor of the Gun Owners of America Convention and the National Rifle Association annual meetings and the SHOT Show, people that support your lifestyle. patriotmobile.com/AAR. And of course, this is brought to you every day by the NRA, and we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. Let's get back to the great Ernie Emerson from Emerson Knives and go back to, Ernie, welcome back in, brother. So I want to go back to this proximity situational awareness conversation, but my bad for making it the bank. Let's make it the Walmart, because that's what actually happened. I think more people visit Walmart than they do banks nowadays. And I want people to be able to play theater of their mind and picture their own Walmart, right? Let's get that instilled in your heads, ladies and gentlemen. Picture that as you listen to Ernest. Go ahead, Ernie.
Well, we were talking about the predator-prey response, and that principle, that's 100% in play in this situation, because I want you to look at the victims. He didn't walk into a UFC gym, okay? Let's just say that. He walked into Walmart. Well, who's in Walmart? If you look at the people that were actually victims of his attack, I wrote down some of the ages: 70, 84, 82, 80, 67, 65, 45, or 41, 45. The mix of male and female was about the same, but once you get into the 70s and 80s, there's not a lot of difference in the average person's physical ability, whether they're a male or a female. So he was in a flock of sheep, and he was the wolf. And that's one of those principles that's in place. So, and for gosh sakes, they don't move fast. People that are that old, they don't react as fast. And I guarantee you, probably not one of the people that got attacked was aware of Cooper's level of awareness or situational awareness or anything else. So, however it transpired, because I don't have all the details from inside the scene, but he was able to get close enough to at least 11 people that he attacked and slashed or stabbed. He may have been, he could have been close enough to do that to 40 or 50 people in the amount of time that he was on the attack mode. So, again, you just have, one of the things that we need to fight against in ourselves is, you know what, we have to accept that there's bad guys out there, and a bad thing can happen. And in a place that's as quote unquote benign as Kmart, you're really not thinking you're going to get attacked, whether it's with knives or guns or fists or anything. So again, all those people were totally unaware. I guarantee you they were totally unaware. And one other thing I think that's important too is with a knife, Mark, that's makes it a little bit more unique than maybe a gun attack, is that it's silent. Yeah. I think I mentioned to you earlier.
The elevator. Let's give that example. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, let's do that. Go there.
You could be in an elevator, a full elevator, and a bad guy could stab someone on the other side of the elevator, and you'd never even know that an attack was taking place. There'd be 2 or 3 seconds that would go by before anything would be like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah. And, if it was a gun, the first time that gun goes off, something's going on here. So again, a knife is it's a sneak weapon. It really is. There's an old Scottish proverb: if I'm going to attack you with a sword, I'm going to approach you from the front, and if I'm going to attack you with a knife, I'm going to hit you from behind. It's a sneaky weapon.
Right, let me ask you this, Ernie. Let me pop in when questions come to mind as I'm listening to you, okay? And these are conversations, ladies and gentlemen, that I've had with Ernie off air as friends, just because the conversation is so compelling and there's so much to learn about this. What makes a person and it's hard to get in somebody's head, but you know knives and blade fighting better than anybody on earth that I'm aware of. You are the expert. You work with DAs, right? You work as expert behind the scenes. You've worked with our spec ops guys. What makes a particular criminal decide to choose a knife that requires them to be so close to their victim? Isn't there a threat to them as well because of that proximity, which is a key word today, guys, when it comes to knives, is proximity. What would make that person psychologically want to do that rather than use a gun or something else?
Well, there's a whole bunch of answers to that question. Number one, maybe they can't afford to buy a gun. You can go to a freaking hardware store and buy a it could be a knife that someone has on them as a tool for work or an everyday carry for opening boxes and all that. So again, and knives are legal everywhere pretty much. Mm-hmm. Some places guns aren't. So, but there's something about a gun that it requires training in most aspects of gun handling and use. And a lot of bad guys, they relied basically on just vicious intent. And there's really no weapon that's probably more vicious than a knife when it's used with bad intent. And again, how do you figure out what's in them? There's got to be a sociological something wrong with it, like when you want to do something that bad to somebody that close, when you can look them directly in the eyes and hear and feel their there's something definitely wrong with a person like that. And again, I guess there's smarter people than both you or I out there that can delve into all those aspects.
Well, if you look at what happened in Idaho, let's go back to that Brian Koberger scumbag in Idaho with the time that we have remaining here and stay on that for a moment. It's obvious to me, or I mean, it would seem to me to be obvious that the reason he chose a knife was because of the stealth aspect of the blade. It was the middle of the night. A gunshot is going to draw a ton of attention, wake up everybody in the home. There might be another gun in the home. And a knife is much more quiet, save for the victim screaming or the horror that they went through. But, this was likely over in Idaho in a matter of seconds, frankly, without that audible sound of the gunshot, and he was able to calmly walk out, right? So that would make sense to me.
Well, it took him longer to go from room to room than it did to actually murder people.
Great point.
Let's just leave it at that. But I think another thing that's important to understand here is that there's just some fucking... Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Bobby, make sure you grab that. I dumped it. Okay, good deal. All right, remember, we're on live radio. There we go.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I'm very passionate about this.
We're good. Go ahead.
There are some evil people, and I think that Kohlberger, for example, I think he took great pleasure in that proximity, in the feeling that he got from being able to do something that horrible to another living being.
Well, all I can hope for as we go to the break here, Ernie, is that he gets his due, and I think the Jeffrey Dahmer. He's got a Jeffrey Dahmer fate ahead of him, no question about it. But fascinating conversation. We have 2 more segments to go with Ernie Emerson. You do not want to miss what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. These people walk amongst you. They're everywhere you've been today. Believe it or not, no matter where you've been, somebody bad has been too. We'll be right back with Ernie. Don't go away.
All clear.
Hold on 1 second. Guys, I'm really enjoying watching the comments in the chat. You get great sausage when you're watching online. Scott asked, do board ops guys paint pictures of F-bombs on their desks when they make an intercept like that? No, they're professionals, and they know what they're doing. The conversations get passionate, and sometimes it happens. And thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I will get an X tattooed on my bicep. I keep track of them there. But
good for you, man. All right, we'll be right back, guys. Coming back now. Sounds good. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yes, welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. And you know the show is brought to you every day by the National Rifle Association. You can join the National Rifle Association. We really need you to do that. 1 year or 3 year membership, I'm going to send you an NRA range bag. It's that simple. You're going to get it when you sign up. I see the reports every week. Many of you are. If you want to renew, too, you can do the same thing and still get that range bag. 1 to 3 year membership, get you the range bag, get you $10 off. It's $35 a year for a 1 year membership, folks. My son's card just came in the mail today, by the way. So that's kind of cool. My daughters and wives, they've re-upped. Their new stuff is coming. You can do the same thing. The National Rifle Association needs to get back to that 6 million plus members. It is still the 900-pound gorilla in the room. But help us. We need the numbers to build. It's that simple. And it's $35 for 1 year, $85 for 3 years, and then 5 years like I did. If you sign for 5 years or a life membership, you're going to get the binoculars, the 10x42 super high-quality binoculars, and you're going to get all the cool stuff that comes with the NRA membership, your card, hat, all that fun stuff. You can visit nra.org/AAR, nra.org/AAR. You can just click the link right on my website at Armed American Radio, and you'll see the picture of the cool stuff you're going to get, and we appreciate it. Please help us continue to build the momentum, and many of you are, and we appreciate it, and we thank you so much for doing that. And remember, while you're there, make sure to visit all of our great partners. You can find them all. AmmoSquared.com. I got my notification today. It's garbage day. Stacking ammo like crazy, over 3,000 plus rounds now. It's building every single week. AmmoSquared.com. Make sure to check them out, and don't forget BudsGunShop.com. BudsGunShop.com, our exclusive online retailer. They have everything you want and need, and you need everything and want everything that they have. Millions of customers at BudsGunShop.com. Make sure to check them out and say thanks for supporting Armed American Radio by picking up something as simple as a box of ammo, whatever it is. Buds has you covered. Let's get back to Ernie Emerson. Ernie, welcome back, my brother. So I want to go back.
Sir.
We're back in, we're painting this picture for folks, and we were talking about what makes the bad guy choose the knife. We were talking about Koberger and how fast these things happen and how vicious they are. And I want to turn it back over to you.
Well, the other thing that is in play is the speed at which that violence can occur. And there's a thing about extreme violence that most people, they never experience it in their lives. The most extreme violence they've seen is watching a movie on TV. And what that has a tendency to do is it locks you up. And it isn't just the fight or flight reaction when you see something that's horrible happening in front of you. So I don't want to get into all of that because I've got, again, some principles I want to speak about. But, when you're confronted with that violence, you don't know how you're going to react. Right. And a lot of times, the time that you spend in that fugue state, that guy can stab you a number of times, or he can shoot you a number of times, or he can hit you with his fist a number of times. And
before you know what happened,
got to take that into account. Yeah, before you even know what's going on. Like that's what most people's when they're interviewed, it's like I didn't even know what was going on, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm on the ground, or I feel something. My left side goes weak. I feel wet. All of a sudden, you've been stabbed, and you might have been stabbed 4 or 5 times.
Well, it's like being punched. It's like being punched in a fight. I remember when I was a kid in high school, got into a couple fist fights. Right, a lot of us did. As kids. You don't get home and realize the black eye hurts until sometimes hours after the fight. Because your adrenaline is, and here you are being attacked, and you don't have an adrenaline rush, or all of a sudden you're being violently attacked and the adrenaline rush is instantaneous and you don't feel those punches coming at you. And as you said, next thing you know, you're on your knees and you've got 47 seconds to bleed out. It's that simple unless somebody can save you. Terrible, terrible stuff. So pay attention to this stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
It is important to pay attention to it because, again, your viewership and readership and listenership, they're what I would consider to be a highly aware audience, so to speak. Again, think of your grandmother. Come on. Think of your mom. Think of your grandfather. That's who these attacks like this happen against a lot of times because that guy knows he's not going to face an armed response, so to speak. So let's go here for a moment. Let's say you are caught up as an innocent bystander in the hurricane of violence. What should you be aware of? What can you do? And what should be going through your mind at that time? So that principle I call the protocols of action. If an attack happens, you engage the protocols of action. Now you got to think about that. And again, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because it'd be tough for me to tell my grandmother to do some of the things that I'm going to mention. But the first thing that happens it's escape, evade, barricade, and engage. That's the sequence that you have to put into action. So escape means leave the environment. If you see something going down on the other side of the room or whatever, just get the heck out of Dodge. That's part of that situational awareness we talk of because he can't hurt you if he can't see, if you're not there. Evade. That means you couldn't escape. The doors are locked or whatever, and you're in a room or you're in a crowd. You're at a concert. There's a whole bunch of people. You just can't make for the exit. So at that point, regarding evade, you would hide. You would retreat. You would get out of range, like you said about the proximity. If I'm 100 feet away from you, you can't hurt me with a knife unless you're, unless you play pro baseball and you can throw.
A superhuman alien from another planet, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? But that's when you want to pick up a chair and put something between you and them, depending on the size of the location, or try to move out of the way and get off that X, right?
That is exactly it, and that brings us to the next principle, barricade. And that may mean a chair. That may mean another room. That may mean jumping in a trash can and making yourself tiny. You want to put something between you and the violence or the weapon or the ability for that person to carry out what they're trying to do. And so there's nothing wrong with hiding. There's nothing wrong with running away. I mean, think about it. I'm not going to expect someone to go full Rambo mode and call them a coward if they don't. No, it's about survival. Now, we'll get into that. There's some caveats to that in a moment. But you want to put something between you and him. Run into the bathroom, barricade the door, whatever. The next thing would be when you have no other options, which is to engage. And that means the only thing that you can do is fight back. Now, in this case, in Michigan, bystanders basically stopped the attack. Now, I want to talk about that for just a second because there is another principle that is always in play during an attack, and it's called the action-reaction turnaround. It's a surprise attack, like we said, which predators do. The first few moments of that attack, I'm going to be 100% reacting to 100% offensive abilities of that attacker. And the more time that I spend reacting, the higher probability I'm going to have more damage because he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. So
he has the advantage, is what you're saying. He has the blade. He has the advantage. And there's so much to cover here. I know we're going to totally have a break, so I'm going to let you take us right to the music. Go ahead.
Sure. So what you want to be able to do is turn that around, which means you need to get him to start reacting to you. Now, it's the same principle as if I was driving down the freeway and there's no other cars on that freeway, I can go as fast, as furious as I want. But you put 5 or 6 cars coming at me down that same freeway, I can't go fast anymore. I have to react to them. It's that same principle. So you have to attack.
Throw something at him. And you have
to attack with everything, anything and everything to stop him and make him react more to you than you to him. Now, those people, they took him down or stopped his attack because the Good Samaritan stepped up And as you know, there's always sheepdogs in any crowd, and thank God for that, because that protects all the people that are in harm's way.
All right, now stop right there.
So
Stop. Let me stop you.
Yes,
We're going to go back to that when we come back from this break, because they did a number of the individuals, the sheepdogs who were there, not the ones with the gun, but the ones who went on the attack against him, were also cut up. All right, so guys, this is very important stuff that Ernie's telling us about right now. We're going to be back. We have one more segment with the great Ernie Emerson, EmersonKnives.com. Make sure to check them out. They've got the best of the best, and you're listening to the best of the best. We'll be right back with Ernie. Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back. Welcome back, guys. If you're watching me on your televisions or devices, I'm holding up my official Attorneys on Retainer card. I am a member. I have attorneys in my back pocket for $35 a month. God forbid if I ever have to find myself in a situation like we're talking about with Ernie and I need to defend myself, my family, my community, whatever it may be. I've got an attorney in my hip pocket, attorney-client privilege instantly. Join. It's that simple. These are no-brainer things to do. If you're listening to this conversation and you find yourself in a situation where you have to react, you're going to be investigated, you're going to want an attorney, and you're not going to want to spend your entire life savings. attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Take advantage of it. Do it now in advance, because if you wait, you're going to smack yourself in the head as you watch your financial world crumble around you, and you run the risk of losing everything you've worked for in your entire life to pay an attorney. You do not want to do that, and the alternative is a free attorney provided to you by the state. No offense to them, but you don't want that either. Not when you have the Attorneys for Freedom group right here for $35 a month, and that's all you pay through the investigation, the trial, anything, everything. It's $35 a month, and that includes expert witnesses. All the things you would have to mortgage your entire life for is right here on this card for $35 a month. $25 per person if you bring your family in like I did. Make sure to take advantage of that. And visit all of our great partners, including Barrel Buddy, Patriots Relief, Crossbreed Holsters, Heaven's Harvest. They're all there for you at armedamericanradio.com. Ernie Emerson, welcome back. There's some chat going on in here. And one of the individuals in the chat, I think it was Scott, says, that's what happened in the mall when I saw that guy holding up the 8-inch knife. Feet don't fail me now, not my fight. Now let's juxtapose that with Texas Huntsman, who says, for me, I have decided I cannot leave knowing someone is killing elderly or children. Not saying that is for everyone. It's something everyone who carries has to decide ahead of time. And we were kind of touched on that as we were going to the break about the people who did get involved also got cut up. And here comes the guy with the gun. We've got 5 minutes. Go for it.
Okay. Well, first thing we got to understand, too, is that the same principles that I've described that apply to you and me also apply to the bad guy. So the minute that bad guy was counterattacked, he stopped, I was going to say killing, he stopped attacking at will. Now, the thing about that is he fought back. Just like we just said, your last resort is engage. He couldn't escape, evade, barricade, so he had to engage. Well, that bad guy's going to engage no matter what. If they're like, for example, if there's 6 good Samaritans that have stepped up and are counterattacking him,
he's
going to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, 6.45 caliber slugs, he's not going to fight back. And so that principle also comes up now, too, which is, what does it take to stop an extreme level of violence? Well, there's only one answer: an even more extreme level of violence. And that's why, again, one of the reasons that I carry a gun, and I think that most of your people do, is because if there is that moment when you can't run, you can't hide, you have to step up to the plate. You need the most extreme, effective type of counter attack that you have available, and almost 100% of the time, that's going to be a gun.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people find this conversation uncomfortable to have, and it kind of is uncomfortable to have. We've talked about it for many years on the program, but we don't hear it in the terms that we hear it from you. You're talking about this in very realistic terms, and we can go back and look at the videos of what happened in Michigan, and you've seen them. You've got the guy pushing the shopping cart in front, keeping a distance, right? Ready to come in and use that as a tool if he had to. These are people that chose not defeat, don't fail me now, right? But chose to engage. And those people were unarmed with the exception of the one individual with the firearm. And when the firearm came out, lo and behold, it becomes a whole different ball game now. Now, honestly, the moment he pulled that firearm, he was within the law to shoot and kill because this guy was in the process of, and he did not. So, you know, there's been a lot of talk about that on the internet. If that were me, I would have pumped him. Here comes the bravado and the machismo we all talk about. Look, but Ernie, I think it's important that you point out to listeners, not me, they hear it from me all the time. But we go through these scenarios in our head every day if we carry a firearm for self-defense. Guys, You know, your mind at 65 still finds that 24-year-old girl gorgeous, just as she was when you were 24. But your body, you have in your mindset that you're still going to fight at 65. You're not going to fight at 65 like you did at 24, okay? You're not physically capable. Yep. Some of you might be, but let's face facts, Ernie. That's reality. That's why the gun becomes even more important, right?
Yep. Well, the principle there is you still have to fight, no matter what. So, again, when I talked about putting the odds in your favor, that balance beam, I'm going to have a weapon that I believe is my most effective tool. And that's true when you're 24 years old, too, by the way. But, you know, when you get to be an age where you're not as you don't have the vim and vigor of a young stallion, let's say.
But your mind does. That's a problem, though.
Yeah.
Your mind does feel that way. I can still do these things, but you can't.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, you'd be surprised what you're capable of doing. And again, you know, never sell yourself short. You got to have that self-confidence. If I've got to fight somebody with any means possible, I'm going to fight as hard and as furious and as viciously as I can, because that guy's going to show no mercy to me. I am going to show no mercy to him. And I think also it's important to realize that there are people who run to the sound of a gunshot.
Correct.
And there are people who run away. And it's not cowardice. It is not heroic moves. I don't know what it is, Mark, but over the years and thousands of students that I've trained and I mean, real badass fighter, tier 1 guys, there are some people who step up to those types of lifestyles and professions, but it's not only those people that do that become a SWAT team member or anything. Right. There's also little old ladies, and there's 20-year-old young men.
There's guys in a Walmart parking lot in Traverse City, Michigan. You know, you and I know some of these people, some of the same people that we're talking about here, and they're incredible. Wow.
But there's warriors in a lot of them, and they may not have trained to be a warrior, but there's something innate in them that just makes them go. They have to stay. They have to fight. They have to protect the innocent. And it's no negative assigned to the people that just turn tail and run, because that's just the way it shakes out.
They may not have mentally prepared for something like this, and you know, and it's important.
Yeah.
Ernie, we're about at the end of the rope. Unfortunately, I could go on and on with you about this all day long, and we will. We'll bring you back to talk about this to a much larger audience on the Sunday show in the next week or two, because this is very powerful, particularly on the heels of what happened in Michigan. A lot of people are talking about this, and there needs to be a sense of reality brought into this, okay? A lot of people get pumped up. Oh, man, I'd have pumped him full of rounds. You don't really know what you would have done. Yeah. You don't know how your body is going to react if you've never found yourself in that situation. I pulled a gun on 2 people, so I have an idea of what it's like, but I didn't have to pull the trigger, and my engagement was behind the wheel of a car. So, Ernie, real quick, where can people find all your dynamite stuff? Tell us where to go.
Well, you can go to emersonKnives.com, and I would say I've got 2 books that you should read. One is called Bad Guy with a Gun, How to Survive the Attack of an Active Shooter, and another one is called Knowledge Destroys Fear. Both right on with what I've been talking about. And Mark, I'm going to finish with this statement. You don't pick when violence happens. Violence picks you. Never forget that.
Ernie Emerson, the master himself. Ernie, thank you for being here. I love you. You're a brother. We appreciate you coming on the program. Let's look to bring you on next Sunday or the Sunday after. Thank you for everything that you do. Armed American Radio is going to get up and do it again tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio.
That does it.
Wow, that was intense. And hey, guys on the radio, or guys that are tuned in, Scott's funny. Scott says, damn, Mark's still dreaming about that blue jean girl. He's a pro, though, and the way he hit it is an example of self-defense mentality. Freud would be proud. Scott, you got me figured out there, bro. But you know what? It was a true analogy. Our minds think and feel the same as we did when we were 18, 19, 20 years old. In the context of a self-defense incident, we all think about these things in our minds, and we think we're going to react the way we did physically when we were 30 or 40 years younger. We're not. We're not. So keep that in mind. And I thought it was a good analogy, and I'm glad you picked up on that, Scott. And not dreaming about her, I just think she's hot. We're talking about Sydney Sweeney, and Sydney Sweeney is hot. And when it pisses off liberals, good. Call her hotter. And if you've seen her shooting at Terran Tactical, even better. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow.